So today we are going to discuss on conditional annotations used in Spring Boot. So whenever we want to create a bean based on specific conditions, Spring conditional annotations will provide us that flexibility to create the bean on specific criteria. So let's jump into my IDE screen and see how it will work. So this is my first component of my Spring Boot sample application. This is form.xml. I am using Spring 3.5.11 version. Then I'm using the Java 17, and these are the dependencies I'm using. This is JPA, Web, MySQL connector, Lombok, and Redis. These are the dependencies I used in my previous videos. And this is my application.yaml file. This is JPA related to show SQL in console. This is my Redis configuration. This is my data source and configurations. And so let's start the video. First, we will discuss about conditional annotation. When we want to add some custom conditions to create a bean, so we will use this. So let's click create one class. Suppose I want to enable some feature based on specific condition. I will create one feature enabler class. Implementing with conditional interface, implementing one abstract method, which is matches. So this is the condition context, and this is annotated type metadata. So I will add one condition to enable the bean creation. Let's suppose I will create, I'm getting that value of the feature. So whenever the feature enabled true, my condition will be true. In this, I will add equal ignore case true. I need to add configuration into my YAML file. Feature enabled true. So what it will do, it will get the value from that application.yaml file and match with this. Yeah, match with this condition, and based on that, it will provide that output whether the bean should be created or not. So let's create one class bean checker. This is my bean checker class. On top of that, I will add the configuration. What I will do, I will add that bean, add the conditional annotation. Into that, I will pass, maybe I will add this class feature dot class. I will create one string conditional bean. To this I will return nothing but my conditional being, and I will print for some message to see to the console my bean is created or not. Let's conditionally created. Conditional bean created. I'm printing the message. Let's see how it will work. If you see here, my conditional bean created is working. So if I make it as a false, let's see my bean is created or not. If you see, my bean is not created because it fails the conditions. So this is the first conditional annotation, and let's move into my next annotation, which is conditional on property. So basically, if any properties we are mentioning in our YAML file or properties file, based on that condition, it will create the bean. Let's see. This is my conditional on property. Name I have to mention. Feature dot enable, and it should match with having value true. I will add string property bean return bean. So let's make it common. We are not using this bean. We are just printing this message. That should be unique. So this is a conditional on property being created. So what it will do, it will check that value of this property feature dot enable. If it is true, then only it will work. Let's see. First make it true. If you see, my both beans are created. Now let's move into my next conditional annotation, which is conditional on bean. So that annotation will do, it will check that if you want to check that another bean is created or not. If that bean is created, then only our current bean is will create. So basically it is just dependent bean. If we have any dependent bean which is dependent on some another bean, so we will use this conditional annotations. Let's see how we will use this. Bean conditional on bean. The name, let's In name, I will pass conditional, the same bean I'm passing. If that bean is created, then only this one will create. Conditional on bean. So we will use this name convention. Bean I will simply return as a common, printing one unique message on bean. If if my conditional property bean will create, then only this bean will create. Let's see. I'm restarting my server. If you see, conditional bean is created. If I will add just my random bean, let's see how it will work. My bean is not created because I am just passing random beans. So let's move on to my next bean. So if we have some missing bean, then only if I want to like create my bean when another bean is not created. So I don't want to override that custom configurations. So then only we will use this. This bean is basically used in auto configuration. So let's see how it will work. Conditional on missing bean. Or this one. Name. Suppose I'm passing just my bean. So if that my bean is not create available already, then only this bean will create. Otherwise, it will not create this. Let's see. I'm copying this method. Nothing special in this method. Yes, just simply return the bean, and I'm just changing that name of that method. Let's see. Let's start the server. If you see, conditional or missing bean is created because that my bean is not available. If I will pass any of the bean which is created already, so it will not create that bean. So let's move on to my another conditional annotation, which is conditional on class. Let's see how the functionality will work. This is conditional on class, and I just need to pass the name of the class. Suppose I'm passing java.sql dot connect connection. If the connection class is available, then only the bean is created, otherwise it will not create. String condition on class, return nothing but common message. I will return this bean and printing out the message. class. Okay. If my java.sql.connection class is available, then only it should create. If you see, condition class being created because my this class is available. If I will just add form dot fake dot connection, let's see. Not created because my class is not available. So move on to next annotation. Next annotation, this is just nothing but the missing bean, the missing class. I just need to add missing class, missing class, missing class. Yeah, if that class is not available, then only the my condition on missing bean will create. Let's see. Condition on missing class being created. So my this class is not available, then only this bean is created. So let's jump into the next conditional annotation is conditional on expression. So we need to pass specific expression if for the bean creation. This is the annotation name. Aim the value should be if I just need to pass expression feature dot enabled equal to true, then only this bean will create. This is expression conditional on expression. I just need to print some message. Let's restart the server. Okay, this is not the expression is not valid. Still the expression is not input. Okay, let's see. This is, I think, the right one. Yeah, I think this is the right one. Yeah, conditional expression bean is created. Why? Because I have enabled this feature into my application.ml file. So this is that condition checker. And the next one is conditional on resource. We need to pass the resources. So if I will pass the resource, I will check that application.ml file is available or not. Then only it will create the bin. Conditional on resource, I will, yes, then only it will create the bin. Conditional on resource being created. We are just adding the class path with application.ml file and my bean is created. So these are the conditional annotations which are used in Spring Boot. There is another annotation we can use to create a bean based on the profile. So let's see how we will create that. Suppose I'm using this Spring dot profiles active depth. I'm activating the depth profile, and in my bean checker class, I will add bean at profile value should be the dev, and copy this method, paste this useless method, and depth profile, I will name this method depth profile being created. Let's see if you see here, my depth profile being will created. If I will use any other environment, then this bean will not create. So these are the conditionals and profile how we are using to create the bean. So this is for the today tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you for watching.